This video is going to cover Module 9 Homework 2, and it's talking about equations of lines. We're going to start off in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is what we talked about in Module 9 Homework 1, which is our y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope of our line, and b is our y-intercept. So we also have our standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So I have my variables on one side equal to a constant with no variable. Note that a, b, and c cannot be fractions. So it says use slope-intercept form of a linear equation. So use my y equals mx plus b to write the equation of the line with a given slope and y-intercept. So it tells me my slope, my m is negative 9, and my y-intercept, which is 0, b. So my b value is 5. So plugging this in, I have y equals, my slope is negative 9x, and my b is 5. So y equals negative 9x plus 5. Same concept for the next one. Write the equation of the line using slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b, with the given slope and the contained point. So my slope here is 4, so my m is 4. And they tell me that my point is 4, 1. So they don't give me my y-intercept for this scenario. They only give me a random point. So this point is x comma y. So I can plug in the given information into my y equals mx plus b form. Y is 1, m is 4, x is 4, and I don't know my b yet. So simplifying, I need to find out what b is. 4 times 4 is 16. Solving for b, getting b by itself, I want to subtract 16 from both sides. So I get negative 15 equals b. So I now know my slope is 4, and my b is negative 15. So going back, y equals, my m is 4x, and my b is negative 15. So my equation of my line in slope-intercept form is y equals 4x minus 15. Find the equation of the line having a given slope and containing the given point. Again, slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. My slope is negative 6 through the point x, y, 8, 9. So I'm going to plug in the information they give me. Y equals mx plus b. They give me my y is negative 9. My slope is negative 6. My x is 8 plus b. I need to try to solve for b. So I have negative 9. I have negative 6 times 8, which will give me negative 48. Plus b. I need to try to solve for b to get b by itself. So we're going to add 48 to both sides. So that way those cancel. We're left with negative 9 plus 48, which will give me 39. So 39 equals b. So now going back to my y equals mx plus b form, I now know my y equals, my slope is negative 6, x, and my b is 39. Boom, there's my answer. Y equals negative 6x plus 39. Next one, find the equation of the line passing through the given points. Write using function notation. Remember, function notation is using f of x. So we're going to plug it into our slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. But we now know instead of y is the same thing as f of x. So we're going to do f of x equals mx plus b. So this time they only give me 2 points. So they give me an x1, a y1, and an x2, y2. My first point, my second point. I can use this to find my slope using my slope formula. So our slope is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. My y2 is 14 minus 5 over negative 4 minus negative 1. 14 minus 5 will give us 9. And I have -4 minus -1. Remember, those two negatives become a positive. So it's the same thing as saying -4 plus 1, which is -3. 9 divided by -3 is -3. So I know my slope is -3. So now, plugging in my information into my y equals mx plus b form. So we know my slope, and I know 2 points. I still don't know b. So I can pick either one of these 2 points and plug in my slope, and use that to find my b. So let's use this first point. Our y is 5. Our m we found was -3. X is -1 plus b. -3 times -1 is +3. Getting b by itself, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We're left with b equals 2. So now, going back to our final answer, I now know my m and I now know my b. So we have f of x equals, our m is -3x, and our b is +2. So it's our final answer using function notation. F of x equals -3x plus 2. Same thing for this next one. Write an equation of a line passing through the given points using function notation. So again, remember function notation is f of x. So we have our equations y equals mx plus b. But instead of y, we're going to use f of x equals mx plus b. They don't give us m, they don't give us b, they just give us these 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2. So I can plug this into my slope. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. My y2 is -8 minus my y1 is -7 all over -6 minus -3. Again, those two negatives make a positive. So it's the same thing as saying -8 plus 7 over -6 plus 3. So that'll leave me with -1 over -3. Two negatives cancel out. We're left with +1/3. So now I still don't know my b, so I can use my slope, and I can use one of those points to find my b. So plugging into my equation, y equals mx plus b, I can use either one of the 2 points. Let's use the first one. My y is -7. My m is 1/3. My x is -3 plus b. Remember, this is like -3 over 1. So I'm multiplying fractions. When I multiply across. 1 times -3 is -3 over 3 times 1 is 3. -3 divided by 3 is -1. And then last but not least, getting b by itself, we're going to add 1 to both sides. We're left with -7 plus 1 is -6 equals b. So I now know my slope, I now know my b. I can plug it back into my function notation over here. So f of x equals, my slope was 1/3 x, my b was -6. So I have f of x equals 1/3 x minus 6. Next page. Write the equation of the line graph using standard form. Remember, our standard form is ax plus by equals c with no fractions. So, looking at this, I can see my y-intercept is somewhere between 4 and 5, but I don't know exactly, so I can't use that. But they do give me 2 points. They do give me 2 points. So I need to find my slope, and I need to find my y-intercept, and first put this into y equals mx plus b form. Y equals mx plus b form. So for our slope, by the way, this is the point over -3 up 2. This is the point over 5 up 8. So I can either plug this into y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 like we did before, or we can look at it as rise over run. So from one point to the next, we can see how much is it going up and how much is it going over. So from this point to this point, because we're going from left to right, it's going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going up 6, it's rising 6, and it's going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my rise is 6, my run is 8. I'm going up, so it's positive, and I'm going right, so it's also positive, which I can simplify this, because they both have a 2 in common, to 3 over 4. So my slope is 3/4. I still don't have a y-intercept though. So I can take either one of these points, plug it in, plug in my slope, and find my b, just like we did on the previous problems. So let's pick this point. My y is 2. I know my slope is now 3/4. My x is -3 plus b. Remember, just like we did earlier, this is -3 over 1. So we multiply fractions, multiply across. We have 2 equals 3 times -3 is -9 over 4 times 1 is 4 plus b. Last but not least, getting b by itself, we are going to add 9/4 to both sides. So that way those cancels. Remember, this is 2 over 1. So in order to add these two fractions, I have to get common denominators. So if I multiply the top and the bottom by 4, this will give me 8 over 4. So if I have 8 over 4 plus 9 over 4, they're now like terms, and then I will have 17 over 4 equals b. So we now have our equation. Y equals our m was 3/4, x plus our b is 17 over 4. So I now have that in slope-intercept form. Last but not least, we need to put it in standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c with no fractions. So my first thing is I want to get rid of those fractions. So I want to multiply everything by the LCD. Our LCD in this case is 4. So I'm going to multiply 4 by all terms of the equation. Remember, it's like 4 over 1. So we're left with 4 times y is 4y equals 4 times 3 is 12 over 1 times 4 is 4, x plus 4 times 17 is 68 over 1 times 4 is 4. We can simplify 4y equals 12 divided by 4 is 3x plus 68 divided by 4 is 17. Last but not least, getting my ax plus by equals c form. I want to move this 3x over. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, and we will get our final answer of -3x plus 4y equals 17. It's now with no fractions in the form ax plus by equals c. That is our standard form. Next one, write the equation of the line in standard form. It's vertical, so it's going straight up and down, and it's through the point -1, -5. So if it's a vertical line, I know that it's going to be x equals some number. In this case, our x equals -1. So x equals -1. This is in standard form. I have my variables on one side, my constants, which is just numbers, on the other. There's no fractions. Boom, we're done. Same thing for the next one. Write the equation in standard form. So horizontal line, so it looks like this. Through the point 0, -3. If it's horizontal, this is a y equals equation. Remember, it's opposite of the axis. My y equals, in this case, -3. So y equals -3 is my answer. It's in standard form with my variables on one side, and it equals some number, no fractions. Find the equation of the line through the point 1, 6, and it's parallel to y equals 4x minus 8, right, using function notation. Remember, function notation is our f of x. So, if it's parallel, we know they have the same slope. So in this case, this is in y equals mx plus b form for us. So I know my slope is 4. If it's going to have the same slope, my slope's going to stay 4. Through the point, x is 1, y is 6. So first I can put this into my slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. We don't know b yet, but we can solve for it. So my y is 6, my m is 4, my x is 1, plus b. 6 equals 4 times 1 is 4, plus b. Subtracting 4 from both sides to get b by itself, we're left with 2 equals b. So we now have it in the form of y equals mx plus b, because we know our slope is 4, x, and our b is 2. The only thing is it wants us to write using function notation. So we know instead of y is the same thing as f of x. So f of x equals 4x plus 2. 4x plus 2. Next page. Write the equation through the line 3, negative 8, and is perpendicular to 9y equals x minus 18, right, using function notation. So again, f of x. So if it's perpendicular, we know they're opposite reciprocal slopes. So first I have to find the slope of this line. So I need to get it in y equals mx plus b form. It's almost there. I have to get y by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. So both terms get divided by 9. We're left with y equals, I have x over 9. So I have 1x over 9 minus 18 over 9, which is 2. So I know this slope is 1/9. So now my new perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. Opposite of positive is going to be negative, and instead of 1 over 9, it's going to be 9 over 1, which is just negative 9. So my slope is going to be negative 9. They don't give me b, but they give me this point. So I can use that point to solve for b. So if I have y equals mx plus b, my y is negative 8, my slope is negative 9, my x is 3 plus b. Negative 8 equals negative 9 times 3 is negative 27 plus b. Adding 27 to both sides to get b by itself. Negative 8 plus 27 is 19. So 19 equals b. We now have our y equals mx plus b because we know our m is negative 9, x, and our b is 19. The only thing is it told us to write using function notation. So instead of y, we have f of x equals negative 9x plus 19. Final answer. Find the equation of the line in standard form. They only give us 2 points. So this is our x1, y1. This is our x2, y2. We can use this to find our slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Our y2 in this case is negative 9 minus negative 8 over 0 minus negative 2. 2 negatives can become a positive, so negative 9 plus 8. Same thing over 0 plus 2. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1 over 2. So our slope is negative 1/2. I don't know b, but I can use this to solve for b. So if we have y equals mx plus b, let's use this 0, 1. So if our y is negative 9, my slope is negative 1/2 times 0 plus b. Negative 1/2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus b, just b. So I know my b is negative 9. So now we know y equals mx plus b. our m is -1/2 x, and our b is -9. But it wants us to put it in standard form. So I want to get rid of my fractions, no fractions. So in order to get rid of fractions, we need to multiply by the LCD, which in this case is 2. So we're left with 2y equals 2 over 1. So 2 times -1 is -2 over 1 times 2 is 2x. 2 times -9 is -18. Simplifying, 2y equals -2 divided by 2 is -1x. I'm sorry, minus 18. Last but not least, I want my variables on one side, so I need to move this x over with my y. So we're left with x plus 2y equals -18. My variables are on one side, and it equals to some number, no fractions. Last problem. It says a rock is dropped from the top of a 2,000-foot building. After 11 seconds, the rock is traveling 3,232 feet per second. After 22 seconds, the rock is traveling 6,464 feet per second. Let y be the rate of descent, x be the number of seconds since the rock was dropped. Write a linear equation that relates x to y, and it gives us those two ordered pairs. So just like before, I have x1, y1, and I have x2, y2. So we can find the slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So y2 is 64, 64 minus 32, 32 all over 11 minus 22. So in my calculator, 64, 64 minus 32, 32 is 32, 32 over 11 minus 22 will give me -11. 32, 32 divided by -11 does not simplify, so I have to leave it like that. So now if that is my slope, I can put this into y equals mx plus b. I can use either one of those 2 points. Let's use this smaller one. So my y1 is 32, 32 equals 32, 32 over -11. My x is 11 plus b. So this is 11 over 1. Those two 11s will cancel each other out. We're left with 32, 32 equals, I have 32, 32 over -1. So -32, 32 plus b. Getting b by itself, I want to add 32, 32 to both sides. So that way those cancel. We're left with 64, 64 equals b. I'm sorry, I switched these up here. I just realized that. I knew there was. This, we started off with y2, and then, so y2 is 22 minus 11. So this will be positive 11. So this will be positive right here, and this will be positive right here. And then these will change to negative, so oh boy. So here we go. So our b value is 0. That looks better. Our b value is 0. So now going back, our y equals, our slope was 32, 32 over 11x, and our b was 0, so plus 0. I don't really need to write that plus 0, so 32, 32 over 11x is our answer for letter A. Letter B says use this equation to determine the rate of the travel, so determining y, of the rock 1,212 seconds after it was dropped. So this gives us our x value. So we're plugging that value in for x. We're plugging in 12, 12. Remember, it's like 12, 12 over 1, so I can multiply straight across. So 32, 32 times 12, 12 will give us 3, 9, 1, 7, 1, 8, 4 all over 11. Which cannot be simplified, so that's our final answer. This is Module 9, Homework 2.